job that has like absolutely no morals.
I mean,
No pension for the
we all have the calling.
Exactly. I'm like, oh,
I don't know. None of the schools I've ever worked at have found this channel.
that's good.
So,
Not till now.
Link right here.
Okay. Well, hello, internet.
Howdy.
How you doing? We're Only Lovers, Left in the Library, Romance Book Club, 2019. Welcome back to our channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
Like and subscribe.
And we pick a book monthly and we talk about it. We're taking turns this year picking books, and this month is my book. But before we talk about my book choice, let's talk a little bit about our members' literary accomplishments. So this is when you plug your this, you do it now. Take it away.
I wrote a book.
Woo!
Pulls out Bubusela app.
It's called West Monster Patrol. It's a novella. It's a young adult fantasy novel with some diverse kids, a diverse cast, and a super creepy monster. There will be a link in the description if you are interested in grabbing a copy.
Okay, you're hired.
You can see right there, Christina is right on the cover.
All right, and Tashay, you wanted to plug something too?
Oh, not necessarily plug anything, but internet. I made the New York Times. It's when was it? It was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, April 19th. Oh, no, you're wrong. It's like
14th.
April 14th, I think, or the 7th. Anyway, if you look up Tashay Gonzalez and New York Times Tiny Love Stories, I have a little tiny love story about my grandparents that got published called In Harmony. So it's up there. It's going to be on my website too, so thinktashay.com. So now if you guys want to, be like, oh yeah, I communicate regularly with a New York Times published writer, you can just leave comments on our videos and I'll like them. And then write back. I'll write back. Be like, yeah, what's up? Yeah.
I'm surrounded by beautiful, accomplished women. I'm very happy. And if you guys want to check out the book or Tashay's short story, I'm going to just put all of that in the description.
Yay.
Also, leave comments on the video encouraging Christina to finish her book, which is super duper.
Yay.
And we want to see published this year too.
Yay.
Okay, so let's talk about back to book club news. So this month, it was my pick, and
Christina has
chose
redeemed herself.
Yes.
Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows by Balli Kaur Jaswal.
If you were nervous about today's hangout after Christina's last pick, which somehow managed to forget, was the one about the planet where everyone had to have sex like every 2 minutes or they would literally die of pain. This one's much better.
It's much better. The year's not over, guys. The year is not over. Don't count me out just yet for another Sex Planet book. So, because first of all, the title really excited me. Because I'm in a romance book club. So my first thought about what this book was going to be about was like, oh, it's like a book club, but it's not. So we'll get into it. We'll talk about it. So we're just going to go around. We'll read what the book is about. So in case you don't, are intrigued and want to check it out, we'll give our thoughts. And then I have some questions to ask the girls because there are obviously always things that I'm curious about knowing their opinion of. Okay. So, but once we get into the questions, there will be spoilers. So continue at your own peril.
Exactly. You have been warned.
You've been warned. Okay. Let's get the fuck out of here and come back later. All right, so I'll read the description. So every woman has a secret life. Nikki, a modern daughter, doing great. A modern daughter of Indian immigrant. Stop. Has spent most of her 20-odd years distancing herself from the traditional chic community of her childhood, preferring a more independent, that is, Western life. When her father's death leaves the family financially strapped, Nikki impulsively takes a job teaching a creative writing course at the community center in the beating heart of London's close-knit Punjabi community. The proper chic widows who show up are expecting to learn English, not short story writing. When one of the widows finds a book of erotica and shares it with the class, Nikki realizes that beneath their white dupattas, her students have a wealth of fantasies and memories that they've held in for far too long. Eager to liberate these modest women, she teaches them how to express their untold stories, unleashing creativity as the most unexpected and exciting kind. As the class grows, the group called the Brothers, who have appointed themselves South Hall's moral police, threaten to reveal the class's scandalous stories and the mysterious secrets lurking beneath this seemingly sedate, tight-knit community.
I veto that book description. That is not accurate.
Is it ever? It got me to read the book though, so it did its job. But we'll talk about it. So, who else? Do you guys want to let's give our our overall impressions. What did you like about the book? And not delving too deep because I have some questions, but what did you think?
Well, I can go first. I
will eat chocolate while you do that.
I think I was still reeling from my horrible experience with Sex Planet book. So I went into this book thinking that it was going to be in a similar vibe. And don't get me wrong, it's very but there's an actual plot and actual characters. So I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. There were parts of it that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed just getting to know that sort of Punjabi widow culture. Mm-hmm. And just, I'm familiar with some aspects of Indian culture, but I wasn't really aware of or I hadn't really thought about what happened to these women after their husbands died, or about the lack of programs or groups or activities that these single women could participate in. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and I like the idea of these women getting together and telling stories. Wasn't such a fan of the side plots necessarily. With the mystery part of the book. But I mean, overall, I thought the stories were funny. And they weren't Sex Planet levels. The amount of fluids was kept at an appropriate level.
There were fluids though. Lots of talk of ghee.
Yes, but last time there were a lot of fluids.
Too much ghee.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Really, it probably is more like a 3.5, but I
you round up. I always round up. That's like D&D, just
4.
Round up.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Cool. All right, Tosh, what about you? What were your thoughts?
I gave it 4 stars as well. Because it became less about the widows after a while. It started off as a story about these widows and them wanting to express themselves and express the sexuality and sensuality and desires that they never really either got to experience or didn't have anymore because they were widowed, and it was a way for them to be true to themselves in a world where they are very much pushed aside or not seen or are invisible. And it was a close-knit group that supported each other. So when that was happening, I was all for it. Mm-hmm. But like Andrea mentioned, there's a lot of secondary plot that takes over what the main story is about. So erotic stories for Punjabi widows is a third of what this book is about. Mm-hmm. And then the rest is exploring these characters and the world that has been built in this community and the underbelly that has been stirring, that kind of doesn't tie in with the stories in any way, really. And the way they talk about how the brothers are going to find them, blah, blah, blah. The brothers are just like background noise that once or twice kind of there's a man in the background involved.
Yeah, just giving dirty looks.
Just glaring at the women because they're outside.
Like, ooh.
Walking. Like, oh.
Like, I wanted more widows.
Yeah. Whenever the widows were gossiping and talking to each other and like critiquing each other's stories, and that whole interaction was really fun. And I thought there was going to be a lot more of us finding out about the widows through their stories.
Story together, and they'd like kind of like round robin it. Like, I love parts. They're like, no, maybe make this happen instead. Oh no, girl, like do this. Like,
but how big is it? It's a big cucumber. You can't have it be that big or else it's gonna hurt.
It was so cute.
Sorry, Ivan's like gesturing at me holding tomatoes. I don't know.
They're squishy.
Oh, they're squishy. That's fine. Yeah, it's okay.
There weren't in the book though, that I know of.
But I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's true. Nobody talks about balls.
No, it's all cucumbers.
Is that not what you meant?
No, but
mindset.
I'm so glad you did though.
No, he's
talking about balls at all.
He's making food, so that's what the tomatoes are. But anyway, but so I liked parts of it. And here's the thing: the side story about the murder and these women who either disappeared or were killed, seemingly by their own social circle, by at the hands of their own family members. That's a different book to me. That's a whole other, like, that's a book called like Who Killed Fulana de Tal. Like, that's that story.
That's what I was talking to Kris about this earlier, but I told her like there's some like really serious topics in this book that like the author just stuck them in there, and so they're not really given the like appropriate attention. That like yes, you could make an entire different book about these like very serious things, but in this book, it's like very like side and
it kind of caught me off guard because I'm like, ooh, romantic stories. Oh, that's sad that her daughter died. Oh my god. Oh, her daughter was like set on fire in the backyard.
It was that there are these like romantic stories and these erotic stories happening in this world. Like, it's all in context. Like, there's a reason why they can't share those stories anywhere else, because they live in like a community that is oftentimes very violent to women for just women. So no, I totally hear what you guys are saying. I just tried to contextualize it. But, okay, so you guys got like way super ahead of me. Sorry. No, you're fine. But so I think we kind of already answered this. So I looked online. So this is one of Reese Witherspoon's book club picks or whatever. So every time I looked up and I was trying to cheat and be like, okay, I need some questions. Like, I start off with, I was going to copy something. I couldn't find it. But they did have like a video of them discussing it. It's like an 8 minute. I'll put a link to it. It's really short. But they talk about some cool stuff. And I was looking through the internet, just kind of like interview questions. Sometimes I want to know a little bit more about the author. And so in one of the interviews that she did, one of the questions was, what was the hardest plot point or character to write in erotic stories for Punjabi widows? And she answered, the mystery behind Maya's death was challenging because I had to figure out how it happened and how to reveal it in a way that wasn't too convenient. So my question to you guys is, do you think that she was successful in implementing it in a way that wasn't too convenient, and that it wasn't super easy to find out? Like, do you think she succeeded in that sense?
I mean, realistically, I knew who did it. Like, pretty early on, I kind of had guessed what had happened, or not necessarily how she was killed, but I knew who had done it. And after a bit, I kind of also figured out what that like surprise relationship situation was too. Just because.
Tashay, okay, let me.
How many times can someone in a regular conversation be like, "He's not my son. We're not related"? Why would you think we're related? We're totally not related. He's like not even that much younger than me.
Okay, but like, didn't it feel a little bit incestuous to you?
Yeah,
though?
girl, fuck yeah.
I told Kris, like, what when they like admitted it, and I was like, oh, Kris, like this feels so like jerky. And she's like, yeah, but it's not family. And I'm like, but he was living there like her family member. Like she would have never been allowed to have a male roommate. She was allowed because he was her like.
Yeah, because she was a widow and he was like él era como el hijo, like he was like her son. That is why it was so fucking gross.
Creepy.
Because, and that's why Maya lost her shit and was like, I'm gonna expose the crap out of you because you're a fucking hypocrite and you're fucking your son, basically.
He was like, okay, well, I'll murder you.
He's like, well, I'm gonna, it was an accident. I definitely didn't mean to like
light you on fire,
complete these 5 steps to fucking murder you and then hide the evidence and write a suicide note.
I didn't want to believe it either when they confronted her with it too. She was like,
you know what? No. Anybody who says that they threw gasoline at you just scare you and they had no intention to light you on fire
is a goddamn liar.
I'd be like, where did those matches come from then, bro?
But also, like, there's so many things you could throw on someone. Like, why? I'm sorry, if you're using gas.
Okay, the only way that I would ever believe an accidental gas fire death is in Zoolander.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure, I get it, but no say. I feel like there was probably a subtler way of her doing it. Like, I think she might, maybe if she'd given herself a little more time to do it, or because the thing is, it's not just one murder mystery. There's like 3 different murder mysteries tied in too, and so
I think. Well, I don't know. I don't know if this is what you guys feel too, but I think maybe she was scared of like making the book too like light or like fluffy. Like she didn't want to. Maybe she didn't think the book would be seen as literature, you know, if it was just these widows doing sexy stories. So then she like tried to incorporate this like honor crimes and stuff like side plot. But honestly, I would have just been happy with like
with the widows and then actually having the brothers be a problem.
Interrupt the book club and have there be a confrontation between the brothers and the widows, and have the widows be like, "Yo soy tu madre." Like,
because the way it ended up, you know, they never even had, you know, it's like at the end of the book when there is a brother confrontation, he's like, I don't care about your stories. I just care about people not finding out like who I murdered. Like it wasn't even, and then skip further ahead, and they're like, okay, we're gonna publish this. We're gonna make a book, you know, and it's not even an issue anymore.
So yeah, it's the main promoted issue is a non-issue completely.
Okay, so I don't think the murder mystery part was my least favorite aspect of it as well. I enjoyed everything else. I enjoyed the interpersonal relationships between like the widows, between Nikki and her sister. We'll get to it. We'll talk about it. About, you know, Nikki and the widows and Kulwinder and her, you know, I wish that it's not that I didn't need everybody, I think, well, I don't know, maybe not everybody, but there's an obvious context, right, to this community. So, you know, I just didn't need to be like, you know, like, well, you know, maybe it did happen. Maybe she did die in an honor killing, and that's what, you know, maybe, and then that's bringing her problems with her husband, and then they just work it out. You know, it doesn't have to be, oh, we solved this murder, and it just seemed a little bit.
Yeah.
It did seem for me. So the answer, I'm trying to see where you guys are coming from, but she was like, oh, I wanted to put it in a way that was convenient, and I don't think that was very successful. It was kind of like in the moment, like, okay, for real, what's happening? But it was something that I honestly could have done without.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all kind of like in agreement.
Yeah, and I mean, I still gave the book 4 stars. Yeah, it's not like it ruined the book for me.
No, it didn't. It was just kind of like.
I'm just saying, like, I preferred the other parts, and I wanted to know more, like, I don't know. Like when the mother-daughter got into the fight over the story that the mom wrote about like
About
the
cheating?
affair.
Having the affair.
And I really wanted to know like what was the actual story? Like what
Yes, exactly. Because
we'll never find out.
at the end of the day, the murder mystery is about a character who we never know. We don't ever get to know Maya. We don't ever know anything about her. We don't know her history. There's no empathy in like a one-on-one way. Like, yeah, it's sad that she, was murdered, but this is a story about a whole other group of people, and the central plot doesn't focus on any of them. It's about this person who we never meet and we never know, and we don't even know anything about her murder. We don't know anything about anyone involved in the murder. And so it's kind of hard to be invested in it, really.
Yeah. It was hard to get invested in it. I was invested only in knowing if Kawinder's marriage was going to survive this loss.
Yeah, like their whole tension and stuff, that was very interesting. Nikki's family relationships were really interesting. Her relationship with her sister, yeah. Even like kind of the twist in her relationship with Jason, which I was like,
we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
I said, Kris, I was finishing the book today, and I said, I sent Kris just like gifs of like someone puking because I was ay, ya. I was like, le compró el libro de India, so
Oh my God. Well, we'll get to it. Okay. All right, cool. So I feel like we covered the whole murder mystery thing pretty well. So okay, my next
oh my God, I did not see Ghost. He's so
he matches really well.
Yeah, it's so dark in the background.
Just his tongue.
Yeah, I saw the white patch and then I saw his tongue. I was like, what's happening?
He left. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, question number 2.
Maybe see.
Is what was your favorite? It's a very teacher question too. What was your favorite story from the workshopped erotic stories, and explain why?
The lesbians.
Yeah. Mine too. That's my favorite.
Okay, here's the thing. I agree. The lesbian one is great, but the only reason I didn't like it, actually, there's 2 reasons. Es porque that little twist at the end where she's like, hey, now who's gonna decide where the laundry detergent goes? I was like, so conniving.
Yeah, that's why I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
use those titties for evil.
Well, okay, so in watching the Reese Witherspoon book club, what they were talking about how women in power, or women feeling empowered through sex, right? That was like one of the themes. And so I get what you're saying, because it was like a sharp plot twist. I was into it. I was into, yes, using your titties for evil. And yeah, I gave you a fantastic night of sexy times, and now I have the power because I'm the purveyor of pleasure here. And I was here for that.
But it's not. I mean, it's not like she wasn't into it.
No, I know.
I think it was like a combination of things. I think both of the characters in this story within a story were into it, and then at the end of it, it was also like, bueno, we both know who's in charge now. Like, there's a reason why your son married me, and there's a reason why I always get what I want.
Oh, I want to go back and read
it. But it was the brother, not the son.
Yeah,
that would have been real weird.
Yeah, it would have been.
Brother. Sorry, I like misremembered.
Okay, what was
at this point? I'm just like, everyone's fucking everyone's son.
It's there's a lot of. What was your favorite?
I liked. It was one of the first stories. The one where like the girl, they're trying to find her a husband, and she goes onto the roof. That there's like that old guy watching her, and then like on the roof, and then he's gone, and she doesn't know if she imagined it or not. Like, I like that one.
Ghost sex.
Yeah.
Or something weird and fantastical, and I
read it more as like the power of the imagination and like the freedom and satisfaction within yourself. She's like, I don't need to be married. I can feel this wonderful whenever I want to.
Yes, whenever this ghost dude visits me, or AKA whenever I have a super hot, sexy dream.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that one.
Okay,
I agree. That was really good.
So all right. So this is kind of something that I got from the other discussion as well, and I have to admit that I also kind of like, when I was coming up with the questions, I didn't really, I knew we were going to talk about the widows, but in context of like sex, I kind of like forgot about them as well. They were telling these stories, but there was a mention of well, how do you feel about the fact that all of these fantasies involve younger people? Like when the widows are writing this erotica, they're not writing themselves as the age that they are as they're in this class. They're writing either younger versions of themselves or young people having these like sexual encounters. Why do you think that there weren't any stories with women of their age, like that them talking about women of their, why do the fantasies focus on them as younger rather than being older? Begin discussion.
I mean, I think for most of them, they were taking inspiration from stuff that had happened to them when they were younger, or things that they had like wished or thought might happen when they were younger. So I think it was just easier for them to like use that. Like that's the age of like all the sexy movies they watched. That's the age when they were actually having sex for fun as opposed to, for a sense of duty or whatever. So that's why I saw it that way. Like they were just, because most of them were memoir like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just, I assumed it was like, this is a younger version of me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think, Tash?
I think the way that I was reading it is the way they kind of introduced a lot of the stories was they just got married or a recently married couple or they just got back, they just are going on their honeymoon now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in their own experiences and the way that they experience and see sex and sexual relationships, it's stuff that is tied in naturally with being young, being newly married, being like fresh physically and in a fresh relationship. And this is, like a fantasy class to them. It's a creative writing like exercise. And I think because it's their first attempt at trying to really write something and craft a story, they are older single women. The fantasy, I think, is to kind of aspire towards what you don't really have or what you haven't had for a long time. So I think given that a lot of these women had been single for a very long time, hadn't been able to experience these things for a long time, it's almost like, oh, if you could put yourself in any kind of situation, what would it be? And I think for a lot of them, it was when I was the most happy, like when I was the most sexually satisfied, or when I was the,
or if I could go back and do it again.
Yeah, like if I could turn back time. If I could turn back time. Exactly. Like if I could take it all back and like do it again, what would the best version of myself be? And they're, young and they're outgoing and they say what they want and they tell the men what they want to do. They're like flipping the script on what their actual story was. So I don't think, I think it's the kind of thing where if we got to see this club a year later,
Yes.
maybe it would have gotten to the point of like, okay, now that we've had the experience of writing all these stories with young people and your aspirational, like what it could have been for you, let's do a realistic writing exercise and let's talk about what you would want and what you want to get physically out of life,
Too, like as the story spread, a lot of the women who are reading these stories and enjoying these stories are maybe not like widow age, but they're in the later stages of their marriage, because they do mention like so many women are like finding the spark again with their husbands because of the stories. So I think knowing they're having that effect might make them, maybe create stories more geared towards the people they know are reading them. Like I can see, because when you don't have an audience, you write very differently than when you have an audience. So I think maybe like volume 2 of the book would be a more mature volume.
Yeah, because even if you read like Los Merenguitos that come out today, very rarely will you read a book that is like this woman is in her mid-40s and she's, you know, having a nice
unless you make a living writing that, like, say, Nicholas Sparks. Where it's like, they're all
yeah, but then someone's inevitably gonna die in a mudslide in South America. So
we just talked about
Yes.
this like 2 days ago. I was
We
like,
did.
whatever. Was it Knights in Rodanthe?
Knights in Rodanthe.
Freaking Richard Gere died, and you know, I only remember the movie, but like, I never read the book.
It was like the one book of his where I was like, nobody's gonna die. They're getting together, and then it's like epilogue, but it's not even in the book. It's like epilogue. He died. Just kidding.
What's like, what? This is bullshit.
Yeah. I remember I watched that movie with my mom, and I was like, and I paused it, and I threw the DVD case, and I walked out, and then I came back, and I was like, okay.
Okay, cool. So, all right, cool. Good talk, guys. I'm kind of curious. Do you know of any kind of like sexy stories? This is the sheep community, right? So, in the Puerto Rican community, like, did you ever encounter a kind of story like this? I don't feel like it's the same thing because I don't think that Puerto Ricans are, at least not all Puerto Ricans, right? But like not very repressed when it comes to. I remember seeing like amor en la hamaca, you know, and like, you know, fucking in a hammock and whatever, and those are like really common
you know
things.
what I think like there's still a stigma about being a widow though, no matter what the culture is. I think it's very different. Like, I think it's more okay for an old lady, or not like an old, but you know, an older woman who has never married, but like maybe goes on cruises and like has male friends. Like that's more acceptable, I think, in any society than a widow.
Yeah.
To start like having like it and I don't know if that ties to just most religions where you have an afterlife, so you're expected to sort of wait until you die and then reunite with your partner.
Yeah.
You have that thing where you have to remain faithful, but I think widows specifically in any culture are kind of more of a taboo sex
I thought it was
subject.
cool, not cool.
People just assume they're trying to steal other people's husbands.
Yeah.
That's the trope is, oh, her husband's dead, so she's like out trying to steal someone else's.
Yeah.
But even then, it's not about the sex; it's about the getting the husband, and you know what I mean. It's not like, man, he's so sexy, and I haven't had sex in a while. You know what I mean? It's not that. It's like, I want the security. Like, I don't know. I can't think of any book where it's like widows
or just pop culture. I think of what do you call this? Oh my god, I forget the name, but there's like La Bruja de 79 or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Like, she's older.
No.
She's just kind of like, you know, is like the grumpy lady in the neighborhood. I can't remember now, but I was trying to think of like, you know, is there any equivalent to this in like what in the culture that we're most familiar with, which is like Hispanic, Latino, Puerto Rican culture. So, and I couldn't really think of any because I mean I've seen
telenovela women. That's the only comparison I have is like women in soap operas. And again, there usually it's like if there's a viuda, she's either old and super religious and is like never gonna touch a man again, or she's trying to steal someone's husband. The only exception to that I've seen recently really is the grandmother in Jane the Virgin, because she's a widow and she's very religious, but by season like 3 she meets someone who she likes and she gets flirty and she's like ashamed and admits it to the family, and then they give her blood, like they're like, go and enjoy yourself, you're still alive, and then she starts dating and she ends up like in a relationship with this dude. And even then she has like, because she is religious, she has moral like limits to what she's willing to do physically, but she still pursues a relationship, and it's like a really nice little story, and I like that they gave her a well-rounded character development. She's growing.
I really like in the book, I forget the name, but there is one of the widows is like having kind of like a relationship with another man.
Yeah, but she's younger though.
She is, but you know, there was a part where he's like, why are you being shy when we've already like taken that step? And she says, whatever, it's my choice. You know, I decide, you know, what I'm doing.
Like, she was like, yeah, and it's fun, but I changed my mind. I want to go slower.
Yeah, I decided that's a choice. And he was like super cool with that. And I was like,
I like that too. She's like, I have the rights to want something and I have the right to change my mind. I also like the one widow who kind of was still mooning over her husband because he left her, and then his new woman and then his new woman leaves.
What's her name? Manjeet?
Manjeet, yeah. She goes back because she, in her mind, is like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then she gets there and she's like, oh, you just want me to clean and cook? Fuck you. Comes back, takes off her widow's clothes. Like, that to me, I was like,
yeah. I thought it was interesting that the widows are like white too, and they refer to them as like ghosts at one point. They feel like ghosts. They feel like they're kind
unseen,
of like hard and unseen. And I was like, yo,
mm-hmm.
That's some heavy things. I don't know what I'm gonna be when I'm older. Maybe I'll be a widow. Maybe I won't. But I'd like to think that won't define.
But again, I think a lot of that goes back to the religion thing.
Scare me with your beeps.
Like, I mean, you know, you look at, like, for example, you know, my mom became a widow at 47.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's really young, and I, you know, like, I would have no problem with her, like, if she wanted to, like, go on a date. Like, I wouldn't see that as like a betrayal of my dad or anything like that. I would see it as like, okay, she's lonely and but I don't think, like, not to say never, but like, you know, my mom is 100% gonna see my dad in heaven, and like, I don't think she would ever be okay with like dating anyone because of that. And I think that's the case. I think the majority of people are religious.
Yeah.
And that is like a really big part of like the widow culture, is just believing that you will reunite.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, my mom is a widow too, so, but my mom has bounced back. Like, she's had relationships, but it is a part, like, it's always been a really prominent part of like who she is. Like, she had been married and, you know, had me, and then that was over. Thankfully, our grandparents were there to like catch that fall for, you know, for her, and she was able to really move on. And it, you know, she's happy. It's not like, I don't know if she thinks if she'll see my dad in heaven, or, you know, if she believes in like an afterlife or whatever. But I don't know. It's pretty interesting. But she's like, at least my model of it didn't really define who she was.
Yeah.
She was just like, it's a thing, it happened, you know, it's a process, and then now we're just in a completely different place.
I also think it comes with like differences in generations too. It's the belief of seeing someone in the afterlife and stuff. That's very much something that I think ties into an older generation, because nowadays people our age are like getting married young and then getting divorced, and then getting married and getting divorced. Like, there's a lot of relationships have a lot more, they have not an expiration date, but like there's a
more of an acceptance that things could end.
Yeah, there's the idea of like eternity doesn't necessarily exist that much today. And so I think that
I really think it comes down to how religious you are, because there's someone I went to school with, and she, you know, she lost her husband, and she posts about it all the time. You know what I mean? Like, and she's my age. So like, again, we have a friend whose boyfriend died, you know,
very young, very
and
suddenly.
Again, same, like, and they weren't even married. And again, she's one who posts all the time too, like, about seeing them in heaven. So, I mean, I agree, but like, I do think like if you're religious,
it plays a big part.
Even if I don't know.
That's not to say, I think that you can be religious and still like, you know.
No, yeah, you can still
move on.
But I don't know. I think it's just.
It's also, I think that there's like a mourning period that's different for everyone too. So I think that it's a combination of everything. Like, how religious are you? Kind of what generation you grew up in, and then I think also how do you as an individual deal with loss? Because Some people take 3 months to get over a breakup. Some people take 2 years. Some people take 4 years. Some people never get over the person who
Yeah, that's true.
kind of hurt them or got them to become the most invested, and then that didn't work out.
Mhm.
And some people never recover, and some people go fucking crazy.
Yeah.
White men out there,
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Oof. Some
That's how I.
This is deep, deep shit. I'm gonna be late to Game of Thrones, but I don't want to stop.
I can't watch it yet because Ivan's on season 2.
What you won't do for love. I will wait.
I was about to say this is.
Christina would not wait.
I would absolutely not wait.
anyone.
I know she wouldn't. She wouldn't wait, and she would watch it next to you. She'd be like, "You can leave." She'd be like, "There's another TV in the other room."
There is though. Or use your phone. Put your headphones on. I'm busy.
There's
Okay.
stuff to do.
Yeah, for real. Okay, moving on from just kind of like talking about. So, I guess I wanted to talk about. We were talking about marriage just now, and the two sisters, Mindy and Nikki, have like super different, attitudes about getting married and like the way that you find someone and the way that you get married. So Mindy is like very pro arranged marriage, or
I don't think she's like super pro. She just wants it for herself.
That's what she wants for
doesn't
herself.
necessarily want every.
And then Nikki is very against that. So I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts about the sisters, their dynamic, and how.
I thought Mindy, like, I wish they had found like a better person for her at the end, because I do think that like some people have really good experiences with arranged marriage. And if that's what the author was trying to show us, she failed, because you know what I mean? It's like she was like trying to show us it was okay, but really at the end you're like, oof.
That guy sounds like a project.
Poor Mindy.
Yeah. You end up with the scrawny ass dude who's like uncomfortable with women smoking. All right.
Yeah,
Have fun with that.
I really think the author did her a disservice, and I don't know if it was like her own personal thoughts on it or what, but I just wish Mindy had gotten like a better marriage arc or whatever, because I do like there are people out there who it like works for and who are happy with that, and I don't know.
I was very displeased.
I just wanted it to be done better. I really did.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I wish that might have been a little contrived, sure, but like we just went through like a crazy ass murder mystery. Can we please just have like a happy ending?
And
for
you know
the
what?
cool character?
They didn't even have to make it like super duper happy, but just don't make the guy seem like a
Gross.
No, like a closet brother, like that he's
Yeah,
basically not gonna learn
exactly.
and then like murder her.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he's like uncomfortable with it, but he's trying. I'm like, it seems like a lot of these men are uncomfortable and trying and then murdering women in the park.
Yeah, well, and Nikki does say, but there are, like, he's learning, and then Nikki says, well, there are people who have learned. Like, there are people who are there already.
Yeah. Why are you choosing someone who is a journey? Why are you choosing someone who is a journey?
Yeah, but it felt to me like the author was giving her this kind of man so that Nikki could then say these things. Like I just thought like they could have given her a better dude. That's all I'm saying. They could have made it a more positive arranged marriage.
Although I do also think that Nikki was not wrong, but
Judgy.
very judgy and very superior.
She was super judgy about
everything.
Everything.
So I don't think that Nikki was wrong, but I also don't think that she was right, and I don't think that Mindy was wrong or right. I just think that they were just kind of like choices. They were making choices.
Yeah.
And at least Mindy was able to choose this for herself, and unfortunately, I mean, it wasn't like the ideal for me, but if it's her choice, who am I to?
Yeah.
And I mean, at the end, they're not married and they're not engaged. Sabrá Dios, they might get to know each other more, and like past the book's ending, she decides, you know what, fuck this. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I just wanted
hoping.
I just wanted her treated.
In my fan fiction, they break up.
Yeah. She finds out he's a brother and she's like,
we're done. And Nikki breaks up with Jason too.
Ugh.
Let's talk about it. Okay, so yeah, let's talk. That's literally what it says. Let's talk about Nikki's arc. Question mark.
She had none.
Was there
I think she's the same person at the end that she was in the beginning.
Yeah, she never learns anything. She just finds out that her dad died fucking and then gets rid of her guilt.
I told Kris, is like, she starts out the book with this like savior complex where she's gonna go into this Indian area and teach all these little widows how to read and write and like change the world for the better. And then at the end, she's like,
I'm gonna go to law school.
I'm gonna be a lawyer so I can go into this little Indian town and help all the Indian victims of, you know what I mean? So like,
no lies detected.
It's like a different path, but like she's still going at it with the same attitude of like, I'm gonna come here and save you and better your life.
Yeah, and I honestly, I didn't like.
Sorry, Indy got asthma.
Indy's having the asthma.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh, papito, no! Oh, that's a nice living room, you guys.
Yeah, it's real spacious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very distracting. We were both looking right at us too when he's still doing it.
Anyway.
What the fuck was I even talking about? Thanks.
That's his pug half.
Oh. That you were saying that she doesn't have an arc because she's the same person. It's a different path, and she's still doing this savior thing.
And she, you know, she said at the end, like, this class has changed me because now I was able to say what I couldn't say before. But like,
you've been a bitch this entire time. You haven't like become more vocal. You've always been vocal.
Yeah.
That's why your dad went to India, because you were like. She's like, I'm not gonna go to law school. I'm dropping out. I don't care. Like, that's not you not being open about what you do or don't want. Except now you just cussed out the people at the bar.
Yeah. I didn't think that she taught the widows anything.
At all. At all.
The way that the
oh my god.
Be in the right place at the right time.
They were running that class. She wasn't doing. She was like, so how would you?
Like someone. So what do you guys want to say? Yeah. So what are you writing about? She did nothing.
You know, like when you really want like hummus and you're like, it doesn't matter what I put the hummus on, a chip, a cracker, a piece of toast, a carrot. Like you just need something to put that was her. She was the cracker. She just happened to be a vessel for the hummus.
I saw it more as like the widows got stuck with her in the group project.
He was the cracker.
But I'm just saying, like, it could have been anyone. They just needed
someone to give them a room
and like permission, like someone to be like,
yeah, she was a modern girl.
Okay, sure, yeah, like they knew she wouldn't judge them.
Yeah.
But she was still pretty judgy at the beginning.
She was so judgy. They're like, she's wearing jeans. Let's talk to her about sex.
Yeah, the audacity. Well, she brought that book, too. That's what gave them the whole...
Yeah. They're like, that's what this class is about, right?
Yeah, but like, that was just a really convenient way for the author. Like, it's not that the ladies just saw the book and were like, we've never thought about sex before until we saw this book. Like,
okay, so my last question, it was a lot. I actually had a lot. I had a lot of things. So it's so as an outsider to this community, what was your biggest takeaway from the book? What was your biggest takeaway from all the things that happened? What did you guys learn? Or, you know, what was your views? Did it alter at all? I want to start by saying that I'm glad that the book exists.
Yes.
I'm sure that for us, seasoned romance readers, reluctant or not that big of a deal. But it like, right? Like if someone from like, They were super accepting in this book. I don't feel like that's the rule. I think that this is like the exception. And I think that the majority of people that would be from this community and read something like this would be absolutely horrified, scandalized.
Even the women themselves.
Yes.
Yes.
Especially
Yeah, especially.
would be the ones to come down on it the hardest. But I'm glad that it's there, because I do think that there are people that need to hear these stories and they need to be inspired by these stories to like break out. That's my main takeaway from it.
I like the way that they advocated just for women speaking up for themselves. Like it started out as like a sex thing. Like, let's talk about our feelings about sex. And from there it went to like, let's express to our husbands what we want, when we're having sex. But from there it went on to like, let's demand that we have a gym and like classes on how to use the internet and all these things. So like, to me, that was the, when you empower women through whatever means, it's kind of like a domino effect. And then they're going to take that feeling of empowerment and just use it in other areas of their lives. So I think the whole community is going to be better now because these women are speaking up for what they want and not just sexually. So I think the importance of having spaces where women can express themselves without judgment is really important, I think, in all communities. And I was really happy to see that at the end, where like they were advocating for themselves and what they wanted in their community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that all sounds very smart, Andrea. 5 stars. 5 stars.
5 stars. 5 out of 10. I recommend.
Girl, my takeaway from this book is that women have a hard time everywhere.
Girl,
everywhere. There is nowhere where it's like
okay to just be
an older woman going outside trying to live your fucking life. It's just unsafe. Like it's just dangerous. It's dangerous everywhere. It's dangerous everywhere, and I love women, and I'm happy to have experienced growing up in this body and being the person that I am, because it's taught me a lot, and I will never have words to describe the immeasurable strength that resides within women. That is what I have to say.
5 stars, 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Really good.
As we go.
Well, shit. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say?
I really I know we've critiqued a lot of things, but I really do want to reiterate that all of us really enjoyed this book.
Yeah.
And you should definitely, well, if you've read this far or if you've watched this far, you've definitely encountered a lot of spoilers. But you should still read it. It won't take away from your enjoyment of this.
Yeah.
The sexy stories were very they're really sexy, worth the read.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long to get through. I literally read this book yesterday. I started it a few weeks ago and then work got too busy, but I finished 3/4 of it yesterday. Yeah. And at some point, Ivan and I were doing something, and he's like, "Oh, do you want to watch TV?" And I was like, I want to finish my book. I was like, my book is right there. I want to finish it. And he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we can read." I was like, "Cool, thanks a lot, Ivan." Thanks, baby.
Well, this was great. Thanks for reading with me.
Yeah.
Super open and talk about it with me. I thought you was a book, we're gonna love it. Just saying.
No, I've already recommended this book to 3 people.
Oh,
just
cool.
So you know.
Well, my hope is that regardless of where we are in our lives and relationship status or whatever, that we're still reading and or writing stories. And that this will be us at some point, but obviously independent women doing whatever we want, reading the sexy stuff.
We just have to write our own collection of love stories.
I know, that vaginal fantasy anthology, it just should happen.
Yeah.
If we're still doing our YouTube book club when we're old, we would go so viral. We would. People would eat that shit up. Oh, look at these old ladies who've been friends for 30 years and have been talking about raunchy romance. You know what I mean?
Honestly, that's my goal. That's exactly what I want. You're for the long haul.
They keep referencing these vegetables that don't exist anymore since the Great Dust Storm.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, you heard it here, folks. So now that we have closed the chapter on Punjabi widows as one of the excellent reads of 2019, chosen by yours truly, let's talk about.
Snip, 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 snip.
Let's talk about what we're reading next
Let's
month.
talk about next, baby. Let's talk about books for me.
So next pick is Tashay's, right?
Yes.
Is it? Oh fuck! I need to get that.
It is, and we are going to be reading Bride by Ibi Zoboy.
Oh, it looks so nice.
No, look at this. I mean, we've got to wear our hoops for like the
Oh, girl, yeah.
So,
Ooh, she's
so
beautiful.
a lot of things are happening next month, but you know, obviously, we're reading this amazing, super cool book. I think you've read books by this author before.
Well, just one. This is her second book, I believe,
Mhm.
or at least I've only read one other book by her, but it was really, really good.
Mm-hmm. It's a Pride and Prejudice retelling.
No.
What?
I didn't realize that I was supposed to pick up the book yesterday.
There,
God
there.
damn it.
Just put another hold on it.
That's irritating.
Anyway,
Sorry, I'm sorry.
So this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling. I'm super excited about reading. This is looking Bushwick, okay? Like this is like modern. And I'm always here for it. We've read one Pride and Prejudice retelling. It was Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Sucked.
Wasn't great.
It sucked.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies isn't bad.
You picked that, right, Chris?
No, the forum.
No, you didn't. That was like a side. You were like, let's not read the book club book this month.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, and then also next month marks our anniversary.
Is it 3? No,
It was
4
4.
years.
It's our
4
year
year anniversary.
Wait, you froze.
Oh,
Okay, you're back.
I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. Sorry.
Next month is our 4-year anniversary of book club. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're well on our way to becoming those grannies.
Jesus Christ. Ooh.
Like YouTubes.
You should do a we should do a flip book of all the different hairstyles we've had.
For real though, like this is like a living document of like stages, hairstyles, weight fluctuations, eyebrow formations. You know? The only constant has been Indy, I think.
Oh yeah.
You know, like he's just looked the same. But yeah, so we're gonna be talking about Pride, talking about our, just kind of like doing a quick reminisce and talking about our favorite, like in the past few years, what are like our sexiest sexy book is.
Sexiest book in the past 4 years.
And
Damn.
probably maybe exchange a gift or two. I'm already planning some stuff.
Wait, are we doing this?
I'm giving it to you live. I want to see action and I
Oh,
want it recorded.
Fuck. All right, I gotta.
Really bad reactions.
It's okay. The YouTubes.
Thanks. Thank you for this.
I'm gonna practice. My heart is beating so fast, Chris.
What the hell?
I just want 100.
That's what she did when I gave her her Christmas present.
What?
Anyway, so that's what's happening next month. I'm pumped. Cool book, cool hangout. Been 4 years. It's honestly just getting better and better.
It's gone by real fucking fast.
No,
Yeah.
for real. Oh, also, tentative date for this one is May 19th. For any of you guys that need to save it on your calendar, let me know. It'll be it's technically the third Sunday. It's on schedule, but I'm also off. Like it just so happens that on my work schedule, I'm off that weekend, so I can do it on the 19th. That's it. Anything else you want to say?
I cannot do it. I am in Canada.
Oh, okay, we'll schedule it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're free, and then I'll check my thing. You can't book club from Canada? God, Tashay, no commitment.
We can.
I'm gonna be in Ottawa.
We can do it on a weekday too.
That's
you
true.
know what I mean? Like whatever day you happen to be off that Tashay isn't in Canada. I mean, I'm available every day.
Sorry.
You're fine. It's just kidding. All right.
It's Ivan's fault.
It is. I blame everything on Ivan. Remember that Andrea wrote a book. She wants you to go out and buy it. go do it. It's available on Amazon, paperback or Kindle version. I happen to have both. And if you want,
if you buy a paperback, you get the Kindle version for free.
Shit. It's a great deal. Check it out. Westwood Monster Patrol, super cool, monster, magic powers, diverse cast. Link is in the description. Do it.
Yay!
Look up Tashay on New York Times. Read her story in Harmony. Is it in Harmony?
Yeah. I mean, that's what it ended up being called. It's really called El Amores, but it had to be translated to English for an American audience.
Anyway, I'll link to that. And I hope you have a good month. See you next week. I'm gonna go watch Game of Thrones now.
Okay. Yay! Bye.
Bye, internet.